Hi, friends. Welcome back to WWW with Daryl Ann. I'm happy to see you once again, happy to see my old friends, and happy to see my new friends. And always happy to share these stories with you on this gorgeous, gorgeous day. Spring is actually coming. In fact, I think it's actually spring today, tomorrow, or it was. Anyway, we're happy about it. Everybody's in a better mood, and a lot of hope. A lot of people getting vaccinated. A lot of hope. Things are really improving. So let's see, where were we? I think when we last met, I was talking about my second husband, Keith Hellman. And I was talking about red flags, red flags, things that kind of put you on high alert. And we had gotten married after much trepidation on my part. And I was thinking back to how life can be in the sense of people making decisions or making right or wrong decisions. And I think I was also thinking about how people get scammed so easily today with these scammers. Everything is, you know, just not right, not honest, not up and up. And I think that people who get scammed are people who are really, really trusting people who really wouldn't think of doing it themselves. So therefore find it hard to believe that someone could be doing it to them. And that could kind of equate to my second marriage. I really was very gullible, very trusting, and excuse me, and believed everything that Keith told me before we were married. And he told me lots of tales, lots of things that seemed a little unbelievable to me, but once again, I thought, well, he's had quite a life. There are amazing things that have happened to him, which I'll tell you about. So here we are, back from our honeymoon. I started to see little things that were bothering me, the temper and kind of crazy reactions. And we had, at that time, a wonderful, wonderful cleaning person named Marie. Marie was like salt of the earth. She was just a doll, a woman maybe in her late 50s. And she would come to clean every 2 weeks. And she got to love us, love me, that is, and the kids. But she didn't love Keith. She didn't love him. She was very wary of him. I think maybe the second or third time she came, she said to me, Daryl, I don't know about him. Honey, I don't know about him. He's got a look on his face. Is he really a nice guy? And I said, oh, sure, Marie. No problem. You know, okay. So time went on, and more things were happening that Marie was able to see. Yelling at the kids, being unreasonable. I would, of course, then stick up for the kids and fight back. And Marie was watching all this, okay? So she became very wary and said, honey, I don't know about coming back. I don't know. I'm a little scared of him. I said, oh, Marie, don't be silly. Okay. So Marie left for that day. And a couple of days later, Keith decided that he was going to punish the kids because they left their shoes hanging around and their sneakers, as kids do. And, you'd find them on the floor, and I'd either pick them up or say, hey, kids, put the stuff in your room. And then Keith was reiterating that in a very loud way. Well, okay, guess what he decided to do? He decided he would teach them a lesson. So every morning, I got them ready for the school bus, and we had to rush around and hurry up and get going. And they couldn't find, none of them could find their shoes or their sneakers. And I was like, well, what do you mean you can't find them? And we're racing around their rooms and we couldn't find them. And we were very perplexed. And I guess one of them must have opened up the hall closet door. And what did we find on the bottom of that hall closet door? We found 3 pairs of shoes that were nailed to the bottom of the closet. Yes, They were nailed with a hammer. Yes. Apparently, Keith must have done that when I was driving them around places the day before for their various activities. We all looked down at that floor and saw those shoes nailed to the floor. To say we were shocked and furious is an understatement. He was off to work, so, okay. So I said, okay, kids, hold on. Have to get more of my dark horse. That's better, my dark horse Chardonnay that I love. So we scrambled around. Of course, they missed the school bus, found other shoes and sneakers. I drove them to school, all of them, dropped them off, came home, and called him and said, what time are you going to be home? Oh, I don't know, 3 or 4. Okay. Okay. So, what did Daryl do? Of course, I pulled up the shoes from the floor. I mean, they weren't heavily nailed, but they were stuck. Pulled them all up, okay? And then I went and got a pair of his shoes. Maybe one of his favorites. I don't really totally remember that. But I brought the shoes down into the closet and nailed those shoes to the floor. When he came home, I just said, I don't believe what you did. Okay. So after a couple of days, he didn't need to go into that closet for anything, but he was looking for a certain pair of shoes, wasn't he? And all around the house. Where did you see those shoes? Nope, never saw them. Of course, I had the kids, sworn to silence. They thought it was a riot. They loved it. And then he did eventually open up the hall closet. Okay? And I said, do you get the message now? Do you get the message now? I don't think he spoke to me for a day or so, but that was okay. So that was just one of the flags that were flying with Keith. Okay? Time went on. Temper got worse towards the kids. Yelling, disciplining. It just was breaking my heart. Okay? One time my son came into the room and Keith looked a little threatening. I looked at him. And when my son left the room, I said, okay, now I'm going to tell you something, Keith. If you ever lay a hand on any one of my kids during the middle of the night, I will do something to you that you really wouldn't like. You wouldn't like it at all. I won't go into what I actually said. He was aghast. What are you talking about? I said, try me. Just try me. Okay? So he kind of calmed down a little more than, and wasn't quite as angry at the kids for a while. Okay. And while he was living with us, he told us the most amazing tall tales. For instance, he in his early 20s decided to be a cowboy and went out to Texas and worked on this famous King Ranch as a cowhand. Wow, a cowhand on the King Ranch. What was that like? Oh, hard work, just amazingly hard work. And one day, one of the cows got into a cave. This is really the truth. Got into a cave, and I followed him on my horse, and following the cow into this cave, and there was a mountain lion in the cave. What? A mountain lion in the cave? What? Yep. I saw him. I backed out. But I got that cow and brought that cow back. Wow. The kids were like, wow, Mom, what a story. Yeah, gosh. But, I started to get a little inkling of suspicion then. That sounds like a real tall tale. But then came the biggest tall tale of all. Then he left the King Ranch and decided to be a race car driver in Colorado. He wanted to race cars. Not professional car racing, but, derbies or whatever they were called. Drag racing or something, he said. And so he said he got really good at it, but one day he just went too fast. It just, around that corner, too fast. he got into this horrific accident and broke bones in his body. He was in the hospital in Colorado for some time. His parents flew out to see him, and wow, really? Um, yeah, we still sort of believed him. We did. So more time went by. Things were getting more and more uncomfortable. My sisters and I were getting more and more suspicious. The Murphy sisters then decided we were on the case. We were going to find out whether this guy was telling the truth or what. Okay. One day his parents came to visit from Florida. His father had been quite a well-known eye surgeon in New York State, and his mother was a sweet, helpless little woman, and they had retired to Florida. So they came to visit, and Keith was out, and I was entertaining them for lunch, and I decided to try to play detective. And I said, you know, Keith has told me all about the adventures that he had as a young man. Excuse me, folks. And he was on the King Ranch. More Chardonnay. Okay. And he was in a cave and he saw a mountain lion and he was, you know, and then decided to be a race car driver. And he wound up with horrible injuries in the hospital. And they both looked at each other and said, horrible injuries in a hospital in Colorado? And then she said, Dad, do you remember that? And Dad looked at her and said, Mom, of course not. The only accident I remember Keith having was when he was in college. He had some brief time in college. He was in the science lab and a test tube kind of blew up in his face and he got a few burns, but that's the only accident that I ever remember. Oh, really? Oh, I said, well, maybe I just, I don't know where I got that story from. Maybe I was thinking of somebody else. Okay. They left. I immediately called my sisters, okay, and said, guess what? It was all a huge lie. Oh my God, Daryl. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yep. Okay. So it was then that, now we're going about a year, I'd say about a year and 3-4 months into the marriage. And I realized that things were not working out, unfortunately. My naivete, my gullibleness, my trust was eroding, and I started to realize that there was something a little wrong with this guy. He also was in partnership with a man named Joe. And Joe was a big, kind of a burly guy, kind of a frightening guy. My kids were like, gee, Mom, he looks scary. Yeah. So they used to argue a lot. And they got into this, apparently this fist fight on a job somewhere. They actually got into a fist fight. Yeah. And Keith came home and told me about it. That night, Joe called. And Joe said, I've had it with you. I'm breaking up this partnership. You're crazy. And I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna come and knock your block off. I'm gonna come to your house. I'm gonna knock your block off and maybe do something more. Well, Keith dropped the phone and said, oh my God, Joe has a gun. He's got a gun license. He's got a gun. What? I grabbed the kids, ran into the car, sped away. You deal with it. What? Okay. Went to my sister's, stayed overnight, came back, he was calling, oh my God, he was just threatening, he came, and, we broke up the partnership and nothing. Okay, that was it. That was the last straw. So, the Murphy sisters and I got together and we decided what to do about Keith Hellman. We were one step ahead of him. So, on my next YouTube session, I'm going to tell you what happened and how it got resolved in a sense. And that's quite a story. So I'm hoping that you will tune in for the next chapter of what we called, later on unaffectionately called him Crazy Hellman. Crazy Hellman stories for years. And this is just one of the almost last ones, but maybe not. So I hope you're all having a good night. Hope you're enjoying my stories, and hope you come back to learn the next chapter. And in parting, I will say that be strong in life when things come at you that you don't expect. Just sit back and think about ways. Think about ways to correct the situation. Think about what you can do. Empower yourself. Get some help. Get some support, no matter what the situation is. You know, you'll need help to get through it if it's a tough one. But think it out. Think it out, and don't act impulsively if there's some problem. And I just want to say in closing, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I'll see you all real soon. Okay, bye.